This region has so many rich art legacies. There is no consensus in the art field today as to whether the Northwest School ever existed or still persists. And legacy stories are so important. And that's why I wanted to pursue this and mine it further and see, does this really persist? Are there artists out there that would respond in a very positive way being identified with it? The idea of the Northwest School is foundational. It starts in the 1930s and 40s with artists, primarily painters, but artists working in other media as well. They begin to discuss these similarities of inspiration, Pacific Rim histories and cultures, artistic legacies. Nature, of course, plays a really big role. And when I think about what I've learned or even projected on Northwest School art over the decades, I think of personal journey. There's such a variety of art media in this show. The original four, the big four, were painters primarily. And what I wanted to do was show how art has really exploded in all directions. And at the time, they would deny that it's really the school that they formed or even school of thought. It was more a label that gets attached to them. And it seems like when the big four were interviewed for this 1953 article, they had this magical, mystical experience, possibly because of how they were able to look out and see wonder. So the Northwest School isn't just something that we're interested in now and covering, but it's really been a part of my, whole evolution as an arts administrator in the region. And Barbara Straker James had this beautiful quote. This isn't the exact quote, but Northwest art is like a river. It draws from its source, continues to draw from its source, but over time, as things flow, time and water and rivers, it continues to go in different directions. So this quote ends up being the specific inspiration for this exhibition. Now, we had to really think about exactly what we would include and why. If we start with nature and reverence for it, today, 71 years later, so many artists are focused on concern for nature. Take David Eisenhour, for example. He is presenting a brand new series that's being shown for the first time with this show. It represents a concern for plant life in the sea, seaweed, kelp, etc., is so fundamental to the health of the Puget Sound region. With this series, you see that he's taken objects that represent the impact of humanity on nature. Social justice is another huge flow. In fact, it could almost be a fork if you look at the river of stemming from not just the Northwest School, but what influences artists in general today. Barbara Earl Thomas has this series of paintings related to the phenomenon of blackbirds just all of a sudden falling from the sky by the hundreds. And she's taken the red-winged blackbird, and you see as it comes and it begins to fall down, it turns into black boys, black men that land dead on the sidewalk. It's about urban violence, gun violence, police violence. You see a lot of fiber art. It's really big today. The work of Cameron Ann Mason, in my mind, is just so beautiful. I was at Foster White as they were installing her show recently, and these large-scale fiber pieces were just going up, but I just all of a sudden felt awash with this idea, this show that we were curating. I wanted to include artists that I felt had a more contemporary view. Joe Feddersen, whose work is traveling nationally in a wonderful retrospective, lent this fish trap piece, which is a contemporary version of how you might trap fish in a river. So in this show, we deliberately have drawn from compelling talent. I love this metaphor of Northwest art being a river, and it keeps changing over time, and who knows what new paths it will cut. Where it will go, I don't know. Artists reflect their place in time, and some take us other places maybe we don't know exist yet. I wonder if the tributary or the fork of climate change and social justice will continue to wander off in some big way, and reflecting not just the erosion of the flow, but the erosion of our lives and our world. Change in directions isn't a bad thing, but artists today are in some ways being forced more and more into a journalistic role than just an expressive artistic one. Maybe there's some healing processes, and it allows parts of this river to flow back into one, and maybe there are some things we don't know about that are pretty exciting and fun, and we're going to wander off in new directions.